and that's all the equipment. It's actually rather impressive if you want to see some equipment. It's tractors and skid loaders and UTVs. And
wow.
It's impressive. But this is a little bit more impressive. So this is this is just shop space, right?
Yeah.
Real nice. But up here, this is an 1868 hand-hewn timber frame barn. It was from over in Ashton, so about 5 miles over. And in 1998, they took it apart,
Wow.
piece by piece, put it back together at this site, 5 miles away. So this is the original floor we're standing on.
That's incredible.
And so, yeah, it was done all, I'll flip the light switch too. Yeah, we have a small events. I mean, we had a big science symposium in April with about 100 people. This room will fit about 100 people.
Wow.
Give or take. But
With great views.
yeah, it really is pretty sweet.
That is really neat.
But yeah, so the barn taking down and putting back up, aside from the concrete foundation and the roof work, was all done by volunteers. We had some volunteer, union electricians and union plumbers doing work for us. This is in the year 2000. We had a bunch of old time guys in their like 70s and 80s, 20
Yeah.
years ago, who had a lot of these kind of traditional woodworking skills, helping do a lot of that work.
Wow.
But it's a delightful space. When I started working here in 2007, this was very much a working space. Like this is where a bunch of our equipment and things were. And now, like all these tables and chairs, like on a random summer day, we'll have 7 or 8 staff members, 7 or 8 volunteers, 10, 12 researchers. So we've got researchers from all over the country here. I mean, we just had yesterday, we had some folks from Notre Dame presenting here. They had all their data up on the screens, and they gave a lunchtime, just kind of pop-up presentation, as we called it. But and we founded in 2008 to basically support the project. Like, TNC does a great job. We love TNC. We have a great relationship with TNC.
Yeah.
There wasn't like some critical need for us, but it was like, how can we do more? Was really the question. So yeah, this is all fairly new post. All of this. This used to be kind of our break room.
So this is where you work here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a great little space. And yeah,
You can't get better views.
Yeah, it really is pretty sweet. But,
Wow.
yeah.
For a little Jurassic Park, but with bisons. Yeah.
I know where I saw them earlier. So we have about 120 animals right now, and they're never in one group. Like they don't hang out in one group. The cows right now, they're calving. So the first calf of the season was probably April 10th, give or take.
So were those on the other side here? Because I saw cows on the other.
The female bison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Call them cows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you have bulls and cows.
Okay.
And then we have our calves. Yep. So, actually that unburned part with the vegetation across the street.
Yeah.
That's like the one sliver over there we don't own.
Okay.
And we're working on those private landowners. Good folks, but they're kind of not interested right now in selling, which is fine.
Yep.
So like, we'll come up here to this ridge, and essentially most everything in all 4 directions is ours. So yeah, about when we came here, the animals were all an hour ago they were all right here.
Okay.
Oops. Yeah. Well, where do you find the people?
There you go. Where you find the people, you find the animals, huh?
Well, we'll come in a back way. But there are a bunch of calves. Yeah, a lot of calves. The calves are a huge attraction, as you can appreciate.
Oh yeah.
And yes, in terms of like, so that's where we're staying at, that White House right there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that is.
So aside from this row crop, all the green you see over there, everything here, everything here, everything here is all us. But this is like a 160-acre inholding that, again, we're working on. There's a tom turkey right there on the road. Actually, I think that's a hen. We'll see if she flushes and flies over the fence.
There you go. That's great. Never gets old, does it?
Yeah, they're not bad flyers. They just there's the tom right there.
Oh yeah.
Full display. That's what she's. I don't know what she's doing, but. So the fence, I put up this fence 14 miles.
You did? Wow.
14, and then the
Red-winged vipers.
Red-winged vipers chased her down. That's fun.
Wow.
And so this house, we bought this house. The Nature Conservancy bought this house. 2014 or so, and it needed a lot of work, and there was a lot of moisture damage, so we had to rip out a lot of drywall and put a new roof on and replace some of the decking. It was a bit of a mess. In 2011.
Okay.
So this, and now it's 15 years old. It was row crop for presumably the preceding 100 years, more than 100 years. And so what's really amazing is, so the yellow is all Golden Alexander, native plant. So we're hearing right over here on this fence post, it's a Dick Sissel. Dick Sissels, they say Dick Sissel, it helps if you imagine them saying their name.
Yeah.
But so they overwinter in Brazil and Argentina, so they do about a 12,000 mile round trip migration every year, and so they're grassland obligate birds. Like they stay out of the woods, they stay out of the forest, they don't like row crop, they need prairie, right? And so that's a Dick Sissel.
Wow.
Yeah, beautiful little bird. It's a black little vest, the bib, kind of a yellow breast, a little bit of a red rufous back, as we would say.
Yeah, I love that.
I guess that's a better story for a different place, really. Well, these two hills right here, that one and the next one over with the trees.
Yeah.
Those are what we call remnant prairie. So untilled, never plowed, and so they were grazed. Because of course, every farmer at the time was a very diversified operator, right? Ran multiple crops. They had chickens and cows and pigs and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Now they're just running row crop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so, like this hill in front of us, it's essentially it's unplowed. And when we say remnant, people are like, remnant. What does that word mean? Yeah. I said, well, it's actually old growth.
Okay. And
they're like, oh, well, old growth. I know what old growth means. Like that like old growth trees are important. It's like, yeah, this is old growth grasslands. Like 0.01. That's a real number. 0.01% of the original tall grass prairie remains because they plowed everything that could be plowed. They did, and what they couldn't plow, they ran cattle on. And so this is an example. That hill is unplowed. The vegetation that is there has a direct history of 10, 12, 14,000 years of kind of uninterrupted prairie vegetation, right? Whereas this was a prairie for 10,000 years, and then it lost, got plowed, and now it's a prairie again. But that means that those hills that we have in here, these remnant knobs, shallow soil, rocky, too steep to be plowed. I mean, that means that that's that 0.01% that's left. So it makes those areas exceptionally special and exceptionally rare. And so
And you say what's left? What's left in what context?
Basically in the tallgrass prairie region. So southern Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, parts of Missouri. Now when you get into like the Flint Hills in Kansas, I mean there's about 2 million acres of remnant prairie there. It's all grazed very hard, but that's like the mixed get into the short grass prairie. But in terms of the tall grass prairie region, so Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, yeah, it's all gone. Like there's precious little true tall grass prairie left, and now it's all scattered in these tiny little pockets, and we are now piecing it back together, parcel by parcel, piece by piece. So we, Nachusa celebrates 40 years this year. The first acquisition was in 1986. It was about 250 acres. And it was up for auction. It was up for land auction. And it was parceled out into plots, and they were going to put houses on it. And the Nature Conservancy stepped in and said, "We'll take all of them. We'll take every lot. We'll take it all." So it was in those hills, unplowed, remnant, old growth prairie hills. So. And from there, once you protected the remnants, then we started buying this row crop field, and this field, and this field, and this field, and this field. And over 40 years, we've gone from that initial 250 acre acquisition to now about 4,200 acres. And that's been a process of 40 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is pretty typical. Cars lined up along the road. I mean, we just gotta laugh because it's. I just wish they weren't on the hill, on the blind hill. Yeah, we can. So you can see. So the bison are ruminants.
She is again.
Yeah. So they got multiple stomachs, and they have to chew the cud, so to speak. So they'll graze for a long time, and they lay down. And so we're seeing the calves. They're early when they're born, for the first multiple months, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. They've got a very kind of reddish, amberish colored coat, and so they're often called red dogs. That's what just a colloquial term that people give them. But I mean, we saw a cow yesterday, a female bison that still had afterbirth coming out of her, and then this little tiny calf running right alongside of her.
Wow.
Galloping, doing that kind of stumbly, just born.
That's
run
cool.
that they do. And then but the calves that are like 6 weeks old, the kind of the first ones that were born this season, I mean, they're like that one on your screen is running. It's whereas a new one is barely even walking. So it's like any other. You get a kitten, 6 weeks later. It's big and it's running around and it's robust.
Right.
Same with a little puppy dog. They make a lot of growth in those first month or two.
That's
so
cool.
These guys are just hanging out. What's interesting too, this area right in front of us that you're filming, was it was a pine stand. It was a planted pine stand, and it was red pine, and it was planted sometime in the 50s. And we actually just clear cut it. Got all the pines at the planted pines that aren't even native to this region. And then we put prairie in, and the animals love it. The animals spend a lot of time in it. So they eat mostly grass. They do nibble on shrubs here and there. They nibble on some of the forbs, the flowering plants, but predominantly they're eating grass. They really like burned areas because they like the fresh green growth. If they had the choice between last year's stalky, fibrous stems or fresh, lush green growth, they're going to take the lush green growth every time.
Yeah. So how many bison do you think are out here right now?
130.
130?
Yeah. Well, we do a roundup every October, and the roundup it's really like a NASCAR pit stop. You get these animals in, you work them as quickly as you can, and that means you look at their eyes, look at peak eye, things like that.
Yeah.
You give them shots if they need it. They've got a little tag in their ear, and you can scan it, and it'll tell you how old they are, where they came from, how long they've been here, where else they've been. Because we do this partnership of exchanging animals. From the genetic standpoint, we have to be really thoughtful about genetics and how often, what animals are rotated throughout this partnership that we have. And yeah, they might need shots and vaccinations, and so we do that. And then we release them, we get them out. Roundups are kind of high stress. They're high stress on the animals, and if it's stressful to the animals, it's stressful to people, right? Mm-hmm. And so we want to get them in, get them out. We do things one time a year. We don't feed them, we don't water them, we don't do anything like that. We don't really need to, we don't have to. They're pretty darn self-sustaining. Why it's dangerous to park on the side of the road. This is a 30 technically. Yeah. 30 mile per hour. But this is the same as the wall. Let's see hands there.
Very cool. Just sitting there after eating, huh?
Yeah, and this unit that they're in, we burned it in March, and it would have been like blackened. It was completely burned off. All the growth you're seeing is this season's growth.
Wow.
And yeah, they a full size bull bison will eat about 30 pounds of grass a day, which is just a crazy amount of. This is a crazy amount of grass. And so we've got a partnership right now. So these are Wind Cave lineage, so Wind Cave National Park. So if you're driving down the interstate and you see, a couple of buffalo out in a paddock, some rancher's got a couple of animals, there's a 99.9% certainty that those animals have cattle genetics, that there's cattle integration in the genetics. So around the turn of the 20th century, people are like, well, let's breed. We'll get the size of bison, and we'll get the domesticity, the domesticated genes, the domesticated aspect of the cows. Let's breed them together, and we'll have beefalo. That's what they called it. Well, it didn't really work how they thought it would work. And so the legacy of that, though, is most bison or buffalo you see along the interstates, along the highways, some rancher's got a handful in his back pasture. They've got a lot of cattle genes in them. These animals that we have are part of the Wind Cave lineage. So Wind Cave National Park, long story short, is they took some of those animals from Wind Cave back in the 30s. There were still a handful of genetically pure bison there. They took them and put them on the Bronx Zoo in New York.
Wow.
Then later, in something like the 50s, they brought them out of the zoo and they put them back at Wind Cave National Park. And so eventually, these Wind Cave, the herd grew and grew and grew, and they turned, the national parks turned to TNC and said, hey, we have too many animals. Do you guys want some of these for some of your preserves? So they put them on one TNC site. Wow. When they were subdividing this place and to potentially lot it off, that was the first spec house that the developer built. So that's where our preserve manager lives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like somebody got really lucky and got the only house.
Yeah, so that whole series of knobs over there, that was what was on the development chopping block. So all this flat ground, anything in here that's flat, was row crop. Wow. But all these individual hills were unplowed. They just plowed around them and then they would graze them. But anyway, so the animals are from Wind Cave. TNC strikes up this partnership with them. They put it on a second TNC site, and a third, and a fourth, and a fifth. And I think we were like the 6th TNC site to get these animals, and now it's up to about 10 or 11, I think. So what you can do is you can trade the animals back and forth within the network. Like they can't go off outside the network, get out of the genetics.
Yeah.
So there is that. But then what's been happening a lot in the last few years is there's this kind of movement called kind of rematriation. So what that means is the Nature Conservancy has been working with various tribal groups, but specifically the Intertribal Buffalo Council, the ITBC, the Intertribal Buffalo Council. And so, like a state chapter, like the Oklahoma chapter, TNC Oklahoma, they sell a bunch of animals every year, and they need it's revenue. Like they don't sell them to slaughterhouses, they sell them to ranchers, that kind of thing. And so, who then probably do slaughter them later. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
But the state chapter uses that money as revenue, and they need that revenue. So we've had some donors say, well, how much are those animals worth to in revenue? Like, $1 million? Well, how about I give you that $1 million, and then you give those animals to the tribes. And so, like, our animals, like last year we gave 30 animals from Nachusa to the Menominee tribe in southern Wisconsin. So, and that's like the 4th year in a row that we've transferred animals to them, and I think last year was the most we'd ever done. But so now, like the Menominee, they send some folks down for a couple of months a year, and they come here, and we learn from them, they learn from us, and they're taking, because they're working on their reservations to get Prairie back on their sites, to get Bison back on their sites, for a variety of reasons. I mean, culturally, historically, it's just kind of, I can't really speak. I don't want to speak for them, you know what I mean? Right? But it's a very important thing, and it's the challenge, of course, is every group is like, oh, we should work with the tribes. It's like, is that about you or is it about them? You know what I mean? Like, is that for you? Is it like this performative thing? You want to feel like you're doing something for the tribe? So the tribes, a lot of them have been rather overwhelmed with offers of partnership, right? And so it takes time to develop these partnerships, and kind of the wording we like to use is like it moves at the speed of trust.
Yeah, that's
right?
good. I like that.
I mean, there's something about a bunch of white folks coming in and say, hey, let me do something for you. Tribal groups, so it is a challenge, but the Nature Conservancy has been extremely intentional about this. They've invested a lot of time and energy in these partnerships, and now, we're transferring animals to their sites and helping them think about stewardship, and they're helping us think about a lot of different things too. But anyways, so these are some of those kind of hills up close. You can tell why they weren't plowed, right? But you can see the plow line. There's a clear plow line that running horizontally there at the base of the hill.
Yeah.
Right above it is where they would just roll all the stones out of the field. People are like, oh, what kind of bedrock is this? It's like, no, those are glacial erratics. Those are big stones that were in the glaciers, and when the glaciers were seeded, they were just deposited in what would become row crop fields, and the farmers just rolled them out of the fields and got them put them outside the plow line up on the hills. So these are the remnants, the old growth grasslands that were the main reason that this place was protected in the first place. And as on the right is burned, right? On the left is not burned. So this year we burned about 2,200 acres. And fire is an essential part of these ecosystems. I mean, you can't have a prairie without fire. I mean, in this part of the world, we get enough rain that trees are very happy to grow. You go out to like western Kansas, and there's not enough moisture for trees, really. That's why it's such a treeless landscape. Here, there is enough moisture for trees, and it's fire that keeps that balance in check. So all of this water backed up here, this is all beaver. The beaver are mostly active in the evenings. A lot of times we do get to see them in the evenings. But here's one of their lodges, right? There's some ducks on the far bank. I don't know what that is. But yeah, after we burn, it's especially clear. You can see all their little berms and their many dams. It's a series of dams that go all throughout here. But this is a creek that they've dammed up in multiple places.
That's very cool.
And we'll show you this real quick just because it's hard not to. So this is lupin. Beautiful native plant. It's just probably 3 or 4 days out of peak flower, but it's just this rich color.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a delightful plant. But again, burned on the right, unburned on the left. And so like the woodlands up ahead, I mean, you can see how kind of spacious they are, right? Like you can see through them, and it's not full of brush and what is now honeysuckle infested woodlands everywhere you go. You know, we've done a lot of removal of invasive plants, especially in our woodlands, things like honeysuckle, and then it's fire that keeps them open. So even our woodlands, we burn these about every 2 years, and they're oaks, they're hickories, they're completely evolved with fire. They love fire, they thrive with fire, they actually languish in the absence of fire. You know, when we do a fire in the woods, I mean, we're burning the leaf litter. The flames are maybe, you know, 8, 12, 14 inches tall, right? We're not talking about, you know, the flames move across the ground, they don't move through the trees, right?
Right.
So people are always like, well, how do you keep the trees from going up? It's like, these woodlands have been burning for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So no, it's not anything we have to protect or anything we have to do. But what makes this site really rich too is all this would have been row crop, all this flat ground, and they put drain tile in everywhere. I mean, they drain tiled all of it, right? So they want to get the wet, you know, the wet areas out of the fields. And so we would go in when we buy a parcel, we dig out the tiles. We don't just collapse them, because oftentimes they still drain. They are still removing all the moisture from the ground. So we dig out all the drain tile and really try to restore that hydrological aspect. I mean, because we want these dry hills and these wet fields, and that's what kind of creates that patchy, the patchiness, right? That we don't want a uniformity across the landscape. We want it to be variable, and that's what gives us those high levels of native biodiversity. So if you've got, you know, woodlands and savannas and dry uplands and mesic kind of flat prairies, and then wetlands, I mean, you get this just rich, robust assemblage of all these different plant communities. And the more diverse your plants are, the more diverse your insects are going to be, the more abundant your insects are going to be, the wider array of birds you're going to support, and on and on and on. And so that diversity really starts at the plant level, and that's kind of what we know and what we manipulate and what we try to manage for, is that native plant diversity. I mean, we know some insects, we know our mammals, we know our reptiles decently well, but I mean, like, we're plant people, and that's what we really know. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things where, like, right now, our mortgage, or was, our, people still want to come. Yeah. World of prairie restoration, like, Nachusa is actually a really big deal. In all seriousness, like, we are known. There's the association with the Nature Conservancy, which helps. But this kind of work, Nachusa is really, really known for it. People come from far and wide to see it and experience it. And so we take it, like, in our own world, everyone knows us. But then we'll meet neighbors from Franklin Grove or Rochelle or Oriole, and they're like, where? And we're like, we're just down the street from you. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, oh, I'll be damned. It's got it funny.
Wow.
There are a lot of toys, tools. There are a lot of tools.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of toys. I mean, tools. Tools in here. Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, it takes, you know, to do the work on 4,200 acres. I mean, it does take a lot of equipment, right? I mean,
yeah, it does.
You can't do it. Well, we can't do all of it by hand.
Right.
Right. So it's there's still a lot of the work that does require, you know, the hand work finesse. But, yeah, all of our pumper units for prescribed fire, and our UTVs, you know, during fire season, they all have pumper units in them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of the equipment side of things. Herbicide sprayers and all kinds of stuff. The woodworking area, various things.
Wow.
Yeah, and then over on this side, so this is all dedicated to equipment. This side is dedicated to seed. So right now we the lights should turn on. Yeah, there we go. So we collect seed all season long. We'll collect probably 3,000 pounds of seed over the course of the growing season, and then it all goes out in November. So there is like nothing in here. This room is cavernous right now. By the time November rolls around, every one of these drums is full of seed. I mean, all of them. All these different racks for various, you know, seed sizes and the amount of seed that comes in.
So like the seed of that really pretty flower you showed me?
Yeah,
is
we
that...
come in and we just scissors in a bucket. We're just in there, put it in a bucket, put it in a satchel, bring it in here, we dry it. So this is a big seed dryer. I mean, it's just square ductwork.
Huh.
And I mean, so it just.
Wow.
We put these PVC tubes on them.
Oh yeah.
And so here's stuff that they've been collecting. And so yeah, it's just enough air coming through the tubes, just to mold is what we are.
Okay.
We don't want mold.
Yeah.
And so if you pack that seed in there, it'll just get moldy. So I mean, we can dry dozens of barrels at once, and then we process it through these mills. So we got 2 hammer mills here, and the mills, you know, you can put different screens in there. I mean, we're not trying to create like cornmeal, you know, like we're not trying to damage the seeds.
Right.
We just want to get them like those pods I showed you the over there.
Yeah.
You would just feed them through here into the mill, and then it just kind of hits them and shatters them, not you know, pulverizes them. Because it's like, well, if you've got 5 or 6 or 10 people collecting seed and they're bringing in barrels at a time, well, then you need the capacity to dry them. Like if you can't effectively dry it, well, then now you're bringing in barrels of seed. How are you going to clean it? And it's like, well, that's this. And then, okay, now how are you going to sew it all? And like, so it's just scale begets scale begets scale, right? I mean, that's just kind of why we need this much room. And when we do, you know, 50 acres of prairie at once, you know, planting 50 new acres of prairie, that is, it takes a heck of a lot of seed. And then this is the.
All right, well, save me about 10 seeds from that pretty flower you had out there from my land.
So this is the Bible. This is our guide. Every plant in the greater Chicago region is in here with a little
Zone.
Yeah, which counties they're occurring in. So I mean, this is literally every known plant, and the really amazing part of it is that it's got the insect associations with it. So so Jerry Wilhelm is the foremost botanist in the greater Chicago region, but Laura is the foremost entomologist who put all that insect data along with the flora. So yeah, it's
Have they been out here at all?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're so Jerry Wilhelm and Floyd Swink, I think, planted the Schulenburg Prairie. That weren't Arboretum. So Floyd and Jerry Wilhelm, they created this thing called the Floristic Quality Index. And so they wanted a way to compare your prairie to my prairie. And so they said, well, let's give every plant a number.
Yeah.
And it's not a number of rarity. It's what they meant it to be is a number for habitat fidelity. So if someone brings you a plant, it's like, how sure are you that this came from a nice high quality prairie, or how sure are you that it could have come from any crack in the sidewalk? Crack in the sidewalk, it's a 1. an intact old growth remnant prairies at 10. So then you could do a little math and a couple of equations, and you could say, like, this is a 4.3 prairie. They were the first people to do that. They did that in 1977. Since then, there are about 25 different states or smaller substates of regions. I mean, because this is just for the Chicago region. Like California, I think, has 3 of these, where they've done it for their own flora. And so they've adopted this, and this was the first one, and now it's done all throughout the country, and I think it's now starting to be done around the world. So Chicago has an extremely rich ecology history, and this is a good example of that. But yeah, that's our tome, and big tractors and all kinds of tools.
Yes, tools.
These are great tools. We're happy to have them. But yeah, and now the sun's out again.
I know. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And what's that building down there?
Nice folks, private holding.
Oh, private. Okay.
Yeah. Good people, nice neighbors.
A future acquisition, right?
Yeah, well, the folks who lived there before, they lived there for about 40 years. They both passed away, and we bought their ground, and then we wouldn't need or want the house really, and so some nice people moved in, and but yeah. So yeah, there's
Cool.
your introduction to
Thank
Nachusa
you.
Grasslands.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that you gave me that.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Yeah, you have to kind of go the back roads to get here. It's not on the main drag going past.
Yeah,
but it's so close to. Well, thank you.
yeah, absolutely.